We need the one microphone, the glowing one, closer.
This is new. Pretty cool. I'm not the real speaker. I'll leave the seat for Dhruva Maharaj Prabhu. Am I audible?
You are. You're speaking, brother. You're it. You're Narada Muni personified right here.
No, I'm just the fill-in for the real speaker. But I'll at least start everything off. This is Canto 7, ninth chapter, verse 43, correct?
That's correct. 43.
Okay. You're the host now. Sorry, just a quick reminder. We don't, which prayers do we start with before we read the verse?
You can chant Jai Radhamadava for a few moments because we're getting a little bit of a late start, and um, just some simple pranam mantras will suffice, and we can jump right into the verse.
Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Madhava Punjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prasharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschacharya Shatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gauravakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everybody. So, while Dhruva Maharaj Prabhu does some other services real quick, I'll start off the reading of Canto 7, Chapter 9, Prahlad pacifies Lord Nrsimhadev with prayers, verse number 43. Do we usually share the screen with the verse on it, or should I just read from it and everybody else pulls it up? How do we usually do this? online?
This is being displayed in the chat on Zoom.
Okay.
So you can just go ahead.
All right. Naivo duje paradurat yayavaitaranyas. Quadvirya gaya namahamerta magnachita. Shoche tato vimukacheta sa indriyartha. Maya shukaya badam udvahato vimudhan. Naivo dvije paradurat yayavaitaranyas. Twadvirya gaya namahamerta magnachita. Shoche tato vimuda chetasa indriyartha. Maya sukaya badam udvahato vimudhan. Naivo dvije paradurat yayavaitaranyas. Twadvirya gaya namahamerta magnachita. Shoche tato vimuka chetasa indriyartha. Maya sukaya badam udvahato vimudhan. Does anybody want to recite it online as well?
Naivo dvije paradurat yayaya. Hare Krishna. Naivo dvije paradurat yaya vaitaran dvad virya gayana mahamrita magnachitaha. Shoche tato vimukacheta sa indriyarta maya sukaya bharam udvahato vimudhan.
Would anyone else like to read the verse?
Narifot Vijay Paradura Jayavai Taranyas Tvadvirya Gaya Namahamrita Magna Chitta Sochetato Vimuka Chetasa Indriyarta Maya Sukaya Baramud Vahato Vimudhan.
Anyone else?
Naivo dvije paraduratyaya vaitaranyas. Tvadvirya gayana mahamrita magna chitta. Shoche tato vimukacheta sa indriyarta. Maya sukaya param udvahato vimudan.
Perhaps one more person would like to read. Na, not. Eva, certainly. Udvije, I am disturbed or afraid. Para, O Supreme. Durat Yaya, insurmountable or very difficult to cross. Vaitaranya, of the Vaitarani, the river of the material world. Tvatvirya, of your lordship's glories and activities. Gayana, from chanting or distributing. Maha Amrita, in the great ocean of nectarian spiritual bliss. Magnachittaha, whose consciousness is absorbed. Shoche, I am simply lamenting. Tataha, from that. Vimukachetasaha, the fools and rascals who are bereft of Krishna consciousness. Indriya Artha, in sense gratification. Maya Shukaya, for temporary illusory happiness. Bharam, the false burden or responsibility of maintaining one's family, society, and nation, and elaborate arrangements for that purpose. Udvahataha, who are lifting by making by making grand plans for this arrangement. Vimudhan, although all of them are nothing but fools and rascals, I am thinking of them also. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O best of the great personalities, I am not at all afraid of material existence, for wherever I stay, I am fully absorbed in thoughts of your glories and activities. My concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families, societies, and countries. I am simply concerned with love for them. Purport. Throughout the entire world, everyone is making big, big plans to adjust the miseries of the material world, and this is true at present, in the past, and in the future. Nonetheless, although they make elaborate political, social, and cultural plans, they have all been described herein as vimudha, fools. The material world has been described in Bhagavad Gita as dukhalayam ashashvatam, temporary and miserable. But these fools are trying to turn the material world into shukhalayam, a place of happiness, not knowing how everything acts by the arrangement of material nature, which works in her own way. Prakrite kriyamanani gune karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by nature. There is a plan for material nature, personally known as Durga, to punish the demons. Although the Asuras, the godless demons, struggle for existence, they are directly attacked by the goddess Durga, who is well equipped with 10 hands with different types of weapons to punish them. She is carried by her lion carrier, or the modes of passion and ignorance. Everyone struggles very hard to fight through the modes of passion and ignorance, and conquer material nature, but at the end, everyone is vanquished by nature's laws. There is a river known as Vaitarani, beyond the material and spiritual worlds, and one must cross this river to reach the other side, or the spiritual world. This is an extremely difficult task. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 7.14, Daivikyesha gunamai mama maya duratyaya. This divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. The same word, duratyaya, meaning very difficult, is used here. Therefore, one cannot surpass the stringent laws of material nature, except by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Nonetheless, although all materialists are baffled in their plans, they try again and again to become happy in this material world. Therefore, they have been described as vimudha, first-class fools. As for Prahlad Maharaj, he was not at all unhappy, for although he was in the material world, he was full of Krishna consciousness. Those who are Krishna conscious, trying to serve the Lord, are not unhappy, whereas one who has no assets in Krishna consciousness and is struggling for existence is not only foolish, but extremely unhappy also. Prahlad Maharaj was happy and unhappy simultaneously. He felt happiness and transcendental bliss because of his being Krishna conscious, yet he felt great unhappiness for the fools and rascals who make elaborate plans to be happy in this material world. Om Jnanatimidandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakaramayam Darati Swaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sa Advaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I'm not the scheduled speaker today, but I'll see if I have any thoughts on this point while the speaker is doing his other services. Eh, Something that immediately stuck out to me was a little down the bottom. One cannot surpass the stringent laws of material nature except by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. And it's interesting too, I've heard it said that the Supreme Lord expresses his mercy through his devotees, as we see here with Prahlad Maharaj. I am not at all afraid of material existence, for wherever I stay, I am fully absorbed in thoughts of your glories and activities. My concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families, societies, and country. I am simply concerned with love for them. So, Prahlad Maharaj is fully self-satisfied, completely and totally fine in himself. And we see with certain other yogis and other traditions, they reach this state, what is it called, Brahmabhuta stage, where they're self-realized. They understand they're not the body, and the happiness they feel in that, they take it and they go off to the Himalayas, they leave society, they completely lose interest in anything of this world. But that also means they leave behind all the other people who aren't aware and who are just killing themselves in the rat race, trying to find happiness in temporary things which will ultimately be ripped away from them, either at the time of death or by sickness or just by the force of time. But with Vaishnavas, who are essentially the Lord's agents, they have this burning love for the conditioned souls, as we see with Prahlad Maharaj and other personalities as well. I believe Mukunda Datta in Chaitanya Lila, who, even though they're at that stage where they don't have to do anything, they're fully self-satisfied. They have a relationship with the Lord. Everything is, all of their worries, anxieties, and concerns are taken care of by their full Krishna consciousness. Still, they feel this burning desire to help bring other people to a higher platform. And Prahlad Maharaj did it with his demoniac schoolmates. I mean, he didn't really have to preach to them, did he? But he still did. He put the endeavor in, and there's so much risk in preaching. If you're preaching to demons, they can get angry at you. What is it said? If you try to give good advice to a fool, they will simply become angry with you. And even I've seen it in the Bible. Jesus says, don't throw your pearls before swine because they'll trample on them and tear you to pieces. So the whole business is just you putting yourself at risk. I, I mean, I almost want to say, at best, someone will come and take your advice, but there's so much chance for them to, instead of take your advice, get angry and at worst try to kill you for what you're trying to do, which is bring them to a platform where their efforts are actually going to bring them happiness. And so this is the way I view it, the Lord's mercy. His devotees are empowered by the Lord in order to preach. It said no one can spread the glory of the Lord throughout the world without his mercy. So he's indirectly giving people a way back to him through his pure devotees, such as Prahlad Maharaj. And there's something else that I remember that was quite nice in regards to this point of plan making, but I'm going to see if I can find it. So just bear with me. Maya, Maya Yada, Jaya Isha Kandito, Jaya Isha Kandito. Come on, go on. Go. Yes. Maya yada jana isha kandito yad anyada shastra tatmano buddha yatha charid bala hitampita swayam. Well, that part's not as important as the beginning. And this is Prithu Maharaj talking to Lord Vishnu about what it is that causes these living entities to try to find happiness in material pursuits. And he says, my Lord, due to your illusory energy, all living beings in this material world have forgotten their real constitutional position, and out of ignorance they are always desirous of material happiness in the form of society, friendship, and love. And it seems like this is the basis for this plan-making business. And plan making itself isn't bad if we're making plans that inherently are for the pleasure of the Lord or his pure devotees. I really can't remember the quote, but I've seen it said somewhere that devotees use their intelligence in planning for the service of the Lord. And yeah, I wish I remembered the quote. It was something related to, um, I can't even remember, but it was really nice. Plan making itself, when used for service, is actually a purifying process. But unfortunately, like what it says, everyone is making big, big plans to adjust the miseries of the material world. But this is complete madness because the world is a miserable place by nature. Dukkhalayam ashashvatam. You can't adjust the miseries of the material world and make it happy if it's by nature miserable. You know, it's like trying to dry the ocean. You can endeavor, but it's not going to work. You will fail. And so this this effort to control nature and make it comfortable for us is simply something that happens out of complete gross ignorance. And these preachers, these devotees are so sweet that they'll actually put themselves at risk, physical risk of, thinking of that, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, a perfect example, going to Russia and preaching in a country where th- you can get arrested, tortured, so many horrible things can happen to you for trying to spread religion. And he's trying to spread Krishna consciousness, and he sticks out like anything, but still this burning feeling of compassion for the living entities pushes him to put his life at risk for extended periods of time for no other reason than to help with the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness. And more about this material world. There's a plan for material nature, personally known as Durga, to punish the demons. Although the Asuras, the godless demons, struggle for existence, they are directly attacked by the goddess Durga, who is well equipped with 10 hands with different types of weapons to punish them. Everyone struggles very hard to fight through the modes of passion and ignorance and conquer material nature. But at the end, everyone is vanquished by nature's laws. This is quite a graphic description of what we're up against. It doesn't look like this. You look at nature and it looks like it's ripe for the plucking. And you look at the exploits of, in one sense, intelligent, but really just materially intelligent humans, and you see a capability to manipulate in so many ways. We have electricity coming through creative minds of people manipulating nature. Got all kinds of medicines and things from people's creative minds manipulating nature, pills and such on and so forth. But the reality is that if we try to control this nature for our own pleasure, we're really up against Durga, who is very much equipped to punish those who try to use the Lord's resources in any way that isn't for his ultimate pleasure. He sets rules in all the scriptures on how we can engage in activities in a way that is in line with his principles that he set up. And when we deviate from that, then Durga is ready and able to cause extreme pain in our lives. And it's said in the Ishopanishad, Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Everything in this universe, animate or inanimate, is controlled and owned by the Lord. And so if we try to take his stuff and use it for anything that isn't sanctioned by him, we're just essentially thieves. And in the cosmic justice system, whereas a thief in this world, he can get away if he's creative, if he understands how to outmaneuver the police and the justice system, he can get away, but he can't get away from karma. Nobody can escape karma or time. Time will kill everyone, and karma will determine their next birth. Someone might steal in this life and have a fabulous lifestyle off of things that aren't theirs, but they'll have to pay for it in the next with interest. God knows what they'll become. They could become any kind of animal. They could just become another human being, but born in such a degraded situation. And in one sense, it sounds quite awful, but in another sense, it's quite a good thing as well, because this misery is actually an impetus for us to ask questions, existential questions, which open us up to then take the mercy of pure devotees. I mean, suffering is almost like it forces you to do something. You either push back against it, and like it says, struggle very hard to fight through the modes, or you just ask yourself, why is there suffering, right? Like, why am I suffering? Why is other people suffering? No matter how hard I try, I can't overcome this. What is the point of all of this? And then when somebody like a Prahlad Maharaj and Narada Muni, Srila Prabhupada, and Bhaktitirtha Maharaj comes along, really any of the devotees who's preaching the message without adulteration comes along, if someone has been asking those questions, then they can be open to receive some information. And we know that the first process of devotional service is Shravanam, hearing, because by hearing you can gain a little bit of faith. Somebody tells you this world is a place of misery. It's a place of suffering by nature. It's built in. But there's a way out if you surrender to the Lord. If you've already been through so much effort trying to fight and fight and fight, you're just broken. And someone tells you this, your false ego might be like, I don't want to hear it. But deep down, since you've been asking questions, you're now open. So this suffering, in one sense, is almost like a blessing in disguise for one who finally gives up the effort of trying to control material nature. Because then when the pure devotee comes, or even not a pure devotee, just a devotee who gives the principles of Krishna as it is without adulteration, that person can hear it, accept a little, gain a little faith, and in that way start their Krishna conscious process. And Krishna says, what is it? Daivi Hesha Gunamai Mama Maya Muktiratya. This divine energy of mine is difficult to overcome. And I interpret that as if God says that it's difficult to do something, it should be interpreted as impossible, at least without his grace. Because in one sense, we can overcome the material energy, but not by our own strength. We're tiny, tiny, tiny little atomic souls. And Maya is empowered by the Supreme Lord himself to do her job. There's absolutely no amount of ammunition we can amass to fight against a force like that. But because she's empowered by the Supreme Lord, if we get his favor, he'll just tell her to stand aside and he'll personally deliver whatever challenges we need in just such a way that we'd be purified and be able to come to him. And I mean, there's so many devotees who have so many incredible stories of hardships they've gone through that ultimately made them more Krishna conscious. I remember, no, Dhruva Maharaj Prabhu, sorry. No, please finish. Yeah, I just think it's this one story because it's pretty cool. Yeah. There's a story of I think it was a king, and he had like a, I don't know, servant, aide, whatever this guy was, and something happened, uh, there was something with his aide where everything that happened, he would just say is Krishna's mercy. And so one time the king was out and he was hunting or doing something and cut his finger. I believe he cut a piece of his finger off, and this same person said, Krishna's mercy. And the king's false ego was kind of pricked by that. He kind of got a little bit, a little bit pissed off. He said, "Hey, man, this Krishna's mercy that my finger got cut off. All right, a minute, my guards throw him in jail. Let's see about your Krishna's mercy." And so the king goes off and continues doing whatever king business. And when he was out hunting another time, these bandits, these dacoits came and they kidnapped him. And what they wanted to do is offer him to Goddess Kali. And this isn't a nice offering. Rather, what they're going to do is sacrifice him, a human sacrifice. And they were very happy we got a king. This will be a wonderful offering to our goddess. But what saved him was they saw his finger and said, "Hey, wait a minute. This man is imperfect. We can't offer him like this. All right, get rid of him. Let him go." And in that way, he's like, "Oh, wow, this is really Krishna's mercy." For a little moment, it's like that pain that he suffered from having his finger chopped ended up being a blessing. And in the end of the story, too, this minister, he takes him out of jail, said, "Wow, you're right. This is Krishna's mercy." And he thought about it. He's like, "But you had to sit and rot in this jail. How is that Krishna's mercy?" He said, "Well, you see, because you were injured, they couldn't take you, but I'm completely fine. I would have been their human sacrifice." And in this way, these things that happen in our lives, once Krishna takes our case, that seem like karma, are really just him trying to help make us more Krishna conscious. And it's a beautiful thing because for someone who's a devotee, they can see, oh, this thing that's happened to you is actually going to be helpful for you becoming a devotee of the Lord. But for a materialist, this is actually the opposite effect. They say, "Where is your God? Look at what he's done to you. Your God doesn't care about you." And so it's quite incredible how this whole thing works, how the Lord is so smart that he can make somebody more devotional through something that makes the demons even more antagonistic to the Lord. But yes, the real speaker's here, so I'll get out the way. No, the real speaker's here. Um, get a few more um, points in. That's fine. That's fine. Let's just do it like this. I shouldn't tamper with that, right? Okay. So yeah, it's very powerful verses, of course. Prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. We've been reading so many amazing verses. How Prahlad Maharaj is pacifying the Lord with so many wonderful prayers. This verse seems to be one of the most powerful verses in this chapter. Although I was reading all the other verses again last night, and every one of these verses is just so amazing. So the central message, it seems like, that I got out from this particular verse was that Prahlad Maharaj, we can see he is not afraid of Lord Nrsingadev. And, if we analyze why exactly is Prahlad Maharaj not afraid of Lord Nrsingadev, it is because of his complete surrender to the Supreme Lord. And we see that, Prahlad Maharaj is always not just thinking about himself. He mentions verses how he was so unfortunate to have been born in a demoniac family, but somehow by the mercy of Narad Muni, his spiritual master, he was able to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So for us, we need to learn that, just being fearful and trying to mitigate it with material solutions is not helpful at all. We also learned from Prahlad Maharaj in previous verses where he was explaining that even your mother or father, who ultimately seems to be the ultimate protector of their child, as we're growing up, whenever we're in a fearful situation, we immediately turn to our parents, our mother and father, to give us protection.
But Prahlad Maharaj points out that, even their protection is futile, because when there's disease, when there's, some sort of calamity occurring, even your parents cannot save you. So we, can delve a little deeper and find that actually the real shelter is in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And I was going to quickly read verse 18 again. So we're in text number 43 today. And verse 18 was giving us a nice synopsis of how exactly it can be done. And the verse was saying, "O my Lord Nishingadev, by engaging in your transcendental loving service, in the association of devotees who are liberated souls, Hamsas, I shall become completely uncontaminated by the association of the three modes of material nature, and able to chant the glories of your Lordship, who are so dear to me. I shall chant your glories, following exactly in the footsteps of Lord Brahma and his disciplic succession. In this way, I shall undoubtedly be able to cross the ocean of nescience." So, of course, in this purport also Prabhupada is mentioning how to, cross this Vaitaranya river is a very, very insurmountable task. And there's so many injunctions given in the Vedas. I've heard that if one donates a cow, you can get some mitigation, because every living entity, after they leave their bodies, they're going to have to cross this Vaitaranya river. And, there's extensive descriptions of, all the entities and hellish conditions that one experiences whilst crossing this river. And, the Bhagavatam is very, very clear that, and Prahlad Maharaj is pointing it out here, that the best way is by engaging in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, but not just you and the Lord. He clarifies that it is in the association of devotees who are liberated souls. And in this way, crossing over this ocean of nescience becomes possible. Then Prabhupada's purport to text 19 also gave us some nice ideas. We mentioned already how, including the parents, they cannot help you when there is disease, when there's some sort of calamity occurring in the material world. They may be able to protect you temporarily, but afford no permanent benefit. And then Prabhupada goes on to quote Bhagavad Gita 9:31, "O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes." Therefore, unless one is protected by the mercy of the Lord, no remedial measure can be effective. One should consequently depend fully on the causeless mercy of the Lord. So this is the real message, that without the mercy of the Lord, and how do we get the mercy of the Lord? By engaging in his devotional service. And in this way we can be able to navigate the trials and tribulations of the material world. So the idea is that, of course, we are spiritual beings currently in the material world, but we are by no means material in nature. So our connection is that due to envy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we have now taken birth in this material world and undergoing all these material experiences, which is very nicely described in this verse. What does it say? the material world has been described in the Bhagavad Gita as Dukhayalam Ashashvatam, temporary and miserable. But these fools are trying to turn the material world into Sukhalayam, a place of happiness. So we can see so many politicians, so many, prominent persons in society, so-called prominent persons in society, are constantly promising the masses that don't worry, if you elect me, some happiness will come. Don't worry, if you will elect me, and we can see around the world, no such happiness is coming. And no matter how much we go searching for happiness in the material world, we're never going to find it, because this material world is a place of suffering. And the sooner we uh, hear it, so it will start by hearing. Of course, we're already experiencing it in so many ways, but as soon as we hear that this material world is a place of suffering, and if we can do more analysis and figure out that yes, there is no real solution. So the only solution is surrendering unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we see Prahlad Maharaj, of course, very, very fortunate. He is indeed one of the 12 Mahajans. And so no ordinary entity, by no means. Who are the 12 Mahajans? Swayambhuva Manu, Lord Shiva, Narad Muni, Lord Brahma, Shukadev Goswami, Yamaraj, Kapila Dev, Bhishma Dev, King Janaka, Swayambhuva Manu, and Bali Maharaj, yes, and Yamaraj. So these are the 12 Mahajans. So, definitely no ordinary personality, and so we see Prahlad Maharaj not afraid. So many powerful devotees were present when Lord Nishigadeva had appeared, and Prahlad Maharaj is pushed forward to go and pacify Lord Nishingadev. And so he's reciting all of these amazing prayers. So Prahlad Maharaj's summary is that he is not afraid, and he's not afraid because he's not saying, I am so powerful, I am so intelligent, I am so protected. But he is saying that he is not afraid because his mind is always absorbed in the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if only somehow the other we can understand that by remembering the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Supreme Lord, seems like a simple task, but if we try to do it 24 hours a day, this should be the goal of how we can remember the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Supreme Lord, and be absorbed in this way. Then we can be not so affected by all of these trials and tribulations, not be disturbed by everything else that is going on around me. The more we listen to the news, the more we are engaged in Gramya Katha, just mundane talks, the more we get influenced by the three modes of material nature. And actually, of course, we understand that all of our activities are being carried out in the material world by the three modes of material nature. And, of course, we're thinking that we are the doer of activities, but we're actually not the doer of activities, as cited in Bhagavad Gita. It's all being carried out by the energy of the Lord, the three modes of material nature. So fear is not removed by controlling life. Fear is removed by trusting the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna. So, as far as fear is concerned, Bhagavad Gita 1866, what does it say? Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So again, this, do not fear mantra is there. How not to become fearful. Um, what do we have? So one can use the example of a boat analogy. Imagine if two people are crossing the ocean. One is swimming alone, and the other one is on a powerful ship. So the ocean, of course, is the same, but one, of course, is taking shelter of the powerful ship, whereas the other one is just, swimming all alone in the ocean. So the analogy is that, Krishna consciousness, if one is able to take to this Krishna consciousness process, then Krishna consciousness is like this mighty powerful ship. It becomes easier to cross the ocean in this way on a powerful ship. But one has to come to the platform of Krishna consciousness. And in this way, traversing the trials and tribulations of the material world become much easier. Um, So we see Prahlad Maharaj, of course, he's not only concerned about himself, like Prabhu was saying in the beginning, that, there's so many yogis that, just go off into the mountains and, are just interested in their own liberation. But we can see Prahlad Maharaj is, exhibiting this quality of pure devotee, that he's not so much concerned about his own liberation. And we see, in Prahlad Maharaj's example, that he goes to the point where even though his father was, just committed so much atrocities, so much of fear he had, instilled in, all of the planetary systems, such a heinous person, still at the end, Prahlad Maharaj begged for his father's liberation. So this was, Prahlad Maharaj's amazing compassion, that even though his father had tried to kill him so many times, and we see even in Prahlad Maharaj's example that, when he was, um, when, his father's servants were trying to kill him, again, Prahlad Maharaj was not in a fearful condition. He wasn't calculating, okay, what are they going to try next? They're going to try to throw me off a cliff. So, I should try to, have some material situation. Maybe I, dress such that if I get thrown off the cliff, I don't get injured, bruised. He was not thinking of any such things, in terms of material platform. He was just 100% Krishna conscious. And when one is in this situation, we see the Lord affords all protection. So it seems like the solution is very, very simple as far as Krishna consciousness is concerned. If we can only be 100% Krishna conscious at every moment, then we can be afforded every protection by the Lord. And of course, we also should not be confused that, we might have a certain idea of protection that, my idea of protection might be that, I don't get injured. But, ultimately, we understand we are in these material bodies. And at some point, the spirit soul is going to have to leave the body. So we should not be thinking that, oh, how can I live a long, long life? Which is precisely what Hiranyakashipu was constantly thinking. How can he become invincible? to the material elements. But even Lord Brahma, says that even he, even though he got the boon, but even he explained to Hiranyakashipu that even I have to leave this world, leave my body, because we're all within this material realm. So he could not even award him immortality, so to speak. But still, Hiranyakashipu was thinking by getting these benedictions that he had got, he had become invincible. So in this way, we can see, this is our mentality, like Hiranyakashipu, constantly trying to figure out a material solution. But we understand from the Bhagavatam that there's no material solution that can provide a permanent solution. Everything is just going to be very, very temporary. So we see Prahlad Maharaj, even though he was being persecuted so heavily, he was trying to focus on his classmates as well. He was educating them about Krishna consciousness and not so concerned about his own liberation. He could have kept quiet and said, okay, I don't want to agitate my father. But then his classmates, who were getting this demoniac education, would continue their suffering. So he was just, every opportune moment he had in class, he was just preaching Krishna consciousness to his classmates. This is the glories of Prahlad Maharaj. We see, of course, our own Srila Prabhupada. He also could have just remained in India. How are you supposed to do this? When I just got glasses, so I'm trying to see how to use it. But every time you look down, you have to use it, and every time you look up, you have to take it off. A little confusing. So we see even our own Srila Prabhupada, at a very, very advanced age, he was, of course, peaceful in Vrindavan, but still he was constantly, because of the order of his spiritual master, he was thinking how to go to the West, how to liberate others. Okay, I'll continue here. How to do it. Anyway, but then there is already the Zoom link there. That's
He's a good singer.
Satari Rajakacharya Astotari Satya AC Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Krishna. Om Vishnu Satya Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Swami Narayan. Namacharya Haridas Salam Krishna. Prem Sitavan Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Srimad Gaura Bhakta Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Radha Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Navadvip Dham Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Transcendental book distribution. Transcendental book distribution. Hello. Hare Krishna. Hare Hare. She grew and she go down there. I sometimes come pick up from my sister for the milk pickup. So this year I get you take your ship on here. So you might have to. Yeah. Reinforced. Where do you realize? Moved up to 2 months ago. Ah, okay. You could do about David. What was it? Your name? Yeah. So you pick up from there? Yeah, and like some Philly needs me next to, so I'm kind of like right now. It's really nice. It's like an hour and a half away from Philly, an hour from here, Krishna goes in Delaware. So like, and then I go to what's when I get to go to Harrisburg too. That's a blue. Thought you'd like it. This is very just a little bit. Cool. Damodar? Radha Damodar. You know Damodar. Oh, you gotta tell me the story. Kartik, Krishna getting bound. Yeah. Damodar. This is this version of him? Good. Let me show it. So this is this version of him? Damodar. So, and so last year, these deities, is the traveling around in Prabhupada's on the blessed the traveling that Sankirtan blessed. I wonder it's maybe a little teary a few times. You got a nice voice. What is it? It's not bad. It's not bad. Only by grace, because I mean, I never sang before. No, yeah, it's not bad. This is really nice though. This is really nice. This is really nice. So okay, so Govinda is the one that we as in our temple. We got some. Those are deities from Prabhupada's time that every person you're involved with. These are deities from Prabhupada's time. Yes. So we're like, yeah, historical deities who have been there for some of the biggest preaching. All of Krishna consciousness. It's beautiful. But yeah, that's I didn't have to everybody. Watch out now. You might end up falling out of Damodar. Route Damodar, and you might end up coming back here more awful. You can see the shot here. Yeah, I just like I tried to listen to like means like listen to albums like 30, 45 and like so like I feel like I got it. Hey, was no. It was yeah, it was like I don't know, felt like a different day. Thinking I had the Amish already tried to. No, it's something that you. Nice. Beautiful as work. I see your hand.
Unless you don't want to see him. Thank you for trying.
Just birds today.
Just one bird.
Solo bird. I thank you for your service. Job. Do you come every Saturday? Oh no, it actually I imagine for his house in your heart, really. I know it was called love, so it's a benefit. I love to because like it's the first time I sort of starts to do a lot else. I usually do it without really like fools around and I'll just hopefully the opportunity. That was really nice. But like the conflict you get straight up your life. So it's a reminder. I would love never like also just like you yeah, that's something my wife's not routinely doing this and I just try always guys about the desires, senses. I don't want to make it to it's happened the week after is the Harrisburg wrapping much of and I always help out to feel like it's true to reach out and like today falls yeah and that's to be free from yourself and that's very difficult like I mean what to do pictures and concepts it's something but I'm just like great associates I think you can enough possible but like I'm a teacher so when we just finished so like so starting next week. What is it just said? Durga material energy has 10 arm and 10 web. Just you got two little words, you got fingers. Did 10 arms. It's literally the way it's why wouldn't you crack? Let me know that just be on a lot of silver highs. I get you in music. Oh yeah, it's actually like a nice thing to think about. These like communities based. So that's why I was like doctor. This is what he said. Well, your house. He's fully satisfied with the sun. We stopped. I was supposed to retire in this job, like district soon. But there's also no tax off because this is shit. Took it this shots. So next push on so max and then try to work each other's on the same stuff the patterns get twisted and what's up. Middle school, yeah. It's not as violent facts. Where that's also why working and why can't not everyone but it's spiritual child you still in just that is yeah I'm just well I need to check that just as the this that all everybody here all of them is it doesn't show on your change I'm with it it's actually it's hidden or shade that's Krishna coming to get every right so it's like he's focused there's three disciples that's all they're doing is passing down the message hey you gotta get the nectar and the people you gotta get the nectar so if you keep that song, that's if you keep a lot of people challenge your goals, you just make money to the point where you transcend your force. Not all it is. You'll be able to be caught. Anything everybody in this line ultimately will fail or shake time you're also you're running it's the place where then you get the real nectar. And he'll pop up in your dreams like, hey, I'm gonna start doing I have a special mission for you. Yeah, like I mean, well, sure. First instance, that's like a pattern from the whole slavery. How can you not actually have a future? Like, especially when you're not allowed to listen to it. But this emotional trauma was even things that was basically. I don't know if you just this is. So it's been since yeah, it's after school like 26, 60 weeks. So then, the shop monsters. That's how I started. My kind of opinion. So this again was also dreams about I just raised one me just it's been such a long path.
show us their travel place. That's the experience on those fucking. I was a curious move. Oh, even though that I have like after music girl from let's say I really strong. It was awesome. Appreciation. Yeah, just that class is pretty good. Rush of the days. It's a few. It gives it a few reminders, a few insurances. I think it's a few reminders. Yeah, that it's impossible to do by yourself. Right? It's not impossible. And really, when you're trying to connect, right? Because it says himself, so many times, like, these are these understanding zero. When you said, well, no, that's not, that's, I mean, it's really to then that's a weird counselor when counseling who's so and then you're trying to suicide from sets trying to be trying to thinking about when was she's not thinking I mean rhythm was says we can make it work if we just just right not realize oh okay you know like it's like quicksand. See quicksand? Yeah. If you don't get something outside, oh, kind of tap on you can pull it. Just you might know you never. You need problem. These with quicksand. No, you don't. Oh, yeah. You know, going through some kind of times right now. So when you only have that. Oh, that's true. I know. So think like good feeling, the feeling, right? I've had really the last 2 years. Like him and think he's just to right. You know, pretty much what you expect. Time and the force of so that you have to like choose it wisely. YouTube, it's myth lectures. There's just these activities and I count. I make it count. So just kind of get noticed, you know. They're pretty heavy. Yeah, so Christian himself said I'm very hard. Yeah, after he's really approachable too. And he's wow. Spiritual sayings are going on. One of the going through download it's just initiated. It's curious though. So these are different personality models from different different aspects. I think there are quite a few. There's like it's historical like typical thing. I think it's him like the ability of pleasure to solve. Yeah, I think that's him when he's like I was learning a different life than us. No, but take it out. For now, small group of shikshas that are all in relations. You write up different life systems in 5 and some of us another amazing that. This person, yes, yeah, not actually bylaws of that's dumb. Yeah. Even when he was a teacher, we were shitting for a while. Is this shit on tape? I think like all of them, all like, right, I was like a small child. Off of that, because you didn't see. You didn't be 16 with these stuff. So different. I think it's like, it was great comment. So I didn't like one is still in the mood. I went through the six and pretty happy, but I was seriously quiet. I was delaying at the beginning. I was like, what did like on really and but yeah, and so but yeah, she and I met at least it's the name. I can do. What about for what about like Philadelphia Raffiansha? I did even like in the Bhakti Center, Bhakti Center giving that's in the tree Rada more than I did battle told it for within those song there. Almost in the room, every single day. But I think again, like yeah, great original. I'm not smart personally, proud. Even same difficult. I think shit goes so they got the blood sweat tears of just a shiksha. But it's a shiksha relationship. You know, some their deities are not you know the deities are Christian. And it's just we got some history behind it. I want to ask a suggestion. I'm gonna so listen. So or so right. What is your name? Look at some tutorial past knowledge. The person to talk to is Russian all right. It's not you know, New Zealand. So it's anything like sitting on a private road. I don't know. There's very nothing huge about it. It's not my house. No, he kind of also the traveling. So if you're deity worship, not just it's like I'm pretty yeah, we do that. Yes, it's 20. This
Oh yeah. Listen, like our basic and go walk. Yeah, I know. So yeah, and shutting down new stuff, especially. So and it was really 16 hours. That's instead of making 16 hours, yeah, some how yeah, I it's I had some challenges, but yeah, I went from like form, like so yeah, 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 it's right on. It's all right. Why you say how to balance the love? Yes, if you're not education or say it's like, hey, yeah, that's all. It's like if we just call me and say, hey, show me how to be hungry. Say you want to speak, boom, same thing. They show it's my God. Hey, that's been this is really something. Yeah. You don't know you talking with the people and that. Hey, tell us. So what's the program next? My program that we got share we have pretty much the hot that's that exactly. But out there they say really assisted us. That's nice to hear. That'll be good because that'll be inspiration. I'm on the do the offering and plus always a big thing was like, oh, it's like a club. So it's like now it's doesn't matter. So you know, yeah, it's truthful. Yeah, yeah. They were really fun stuff. Well, and you're struggling. If you're not there, you're super. Yeah. We're working on healing. So I want to three thinking reality on the top. They want you to be but now they don't make you that's the issue. That's working. That the at least phenomenal qualities of like saying what is it? You get sick, yeah, you're not healthy. I mean, you get sick, your job will down, and you I think it's weird. Now just to take care of the roads and taking showers and stuff. So we've been really running that. You have trouble. You have a lot of them. Gee, says, driven up. It's the same thing they had. They the desperate bottle, that and everything. That's sort of, but there's some of the Vegas just, like like sugar, they go running again. You're responsible for your health. Those will probably see you. Yes. Keep that phone mile. Pretty sure it was like, that's the kayak schedule. Yeah. I mean, you go around that way pretty fast. I think after the that's yeah, everything is serious. That's the least. Yeah, that's true. So it's funny, it's cool, yeah. You think it's fully no, it's small. You might have everything's it's gonna be 7 for you. It's 7 9 actually around 5 yes. Well, think of one that has still a water, but it's way over here in New York. But I mean, everything was fully good for this job.
and that was Mars. That's right. You're in order. So really, not now, but let's see, the 90 or this, this 90 or this sky. Well, here's what's like the sky. Then we back to the grammars. Knowledge was from the top. Okay, so today, you have a little character from one. Yeah, we really. One information we have to do that. So we play to one period, one day, like lunch is at 1, and if we got guys out here, you blow up, really like we're literally one to start running. Really help me. No. Oh, you're like flying off when you come through. Oh, yeah. It's new, I know, no, but those going to the other thing. To help the last, yeah. You're right. Yeah. This is really healthy. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, so, very, I was saying that, and you did it, you did that. No, it's fine. I'm home to drive. My very. You didn't do anything in 30 minutes. Yeah, it's like I'm leaving her, and you'll see very good. You can't sound like I'm speaking out without like maybe it's just this. We should learn not to sell up English, and maybe which one? There's that's the other campaign you can sell right. And this guy's been doing it for 3. He's now open to fine. Yeah, he's stupid. This is that verse. If you get close, he'll see you. He won't keep bashing on the window. If you're waiting, you see him back, and then a female will get involved. It's a cardinal, and there's so many. It's like 3 months now. They're defending. This Catholic called blessed adults, anger rising. That's like, dude, you see her reflect there. Oh, he gets his reflection. Yeah. Oh, all day long. All day long for 3 months. What was he been doing in past lives to develop such a Buddha? Or trying to get him in the temple here. Isn't that wild? Yeah, the female can't see us. They don't even have a nest. Like the nest's not even in this tree. Yeah, they just the other. I mean, a lot of times they break their bird chickens and they fly in, trying to protect them, trying to defend themselves. They die. You have to know. No, wow, no, if you go to China, I mean, that's a good one. Someone, I don't know what you can do from she helped with her feet up. He this is us meditation. No, he goes. He's like, I'll just sit here and hey, what's up? And and then nighttime you saw walk down, on his own, wait, it's got a fruit now, he finds this just fun contemplating it, and he goes, he finds it to the out. You got the back, he got the check. You got to give you up. And maybe like one off. Maybe yeah. You can't do that better. Let's sit there. Cold me, food me. Yes.